German politician Manfred Weber won the backing of the European People's Party to stand in the race to become the president of the European Commission. The current leader, Jean-Claude Juncker, will step down from the post after the European elections in May 2019. Euronews spoke to Mr. Weber after his nomination in Helsinki and asked him what won the delegates over. Let's listen to what he had to say.
I said to the delegates, I'm a true Christian Democrat. I believe in the values of my party, of my movement. I want to be a bridge builder in Europe. We have to keep Europe together. And I said we have to practice democracy. That's a fundamental thing for reconnecting Brussels, European level, to the citizens in the European Union. That is my offer, and it worked. And I'm very happy about this because it gives me a credible and a strong mandate for the next month to lead the strongest, the largest political family in Europe into the elections.
Well, earlier I spoke to Sir Graham Watson, former leader of the EU Liberal Democrat and Reform Party, and asked him who he thought the European Commission president should be.
Each party puts forward its candidate. I was the leader of the Liberals back in 2002 when we gave a legal status to political parties at European level, and in 2012 and 2013 when we agreed on the principle that when the heads of state and government come to appoint the president of the Commission, because it's their right, but of course that person has to be approved by the European Parliament, that they should go first to the lead candidate of the party that won the most votes and seats in the election.
Okay, so if that is Manfred Weber, if that is Manfred Weber, is he the man? Is he the right person to take that job?
If the European People's Party is the party that wins the most seats in the European election, then the heads of state and government should, in principle, go first to Manfred Weber. Now, of course, it may be that they want to appoint him, but there's no majority in Parliament for him, if his party doesn't have an overall majority. It may be that they will disagree. And what's going on here is an almighty power struggle between the European Parliament and the political parties on the one hand, and the heads of state and government on the other, who want to retain their right to choose the person they want. And of course, that is done behind closed doors, whereas we have said it ought to be more public. When the public vote in the European elections, they ought to know that the leading candidate of the party they're voting for is likely to be the next president of the European Commission.
Well, you're referring there obviously to the Spitzen candidate process that you were involved in setting up. But as you're saying, European Council leaders, European leaders are kind of divided over that, aren't they? They don't think it's a particularly democratic process themselves. What do you say to that?
Well, look, I mean, of course, they don't want to give up a power that they have traditionally had. But in a sense, they lost that power in the European elections in 2014. Because there was an agreement between all the political parties that it had to be the lead candidate of the winning party who became the president of the Commission. And in fact, Jean-Claude Juncker, the current president of the Commission, was the lead candidate of the European People's Party. And they won the most seats, so he became the president of the Commission. The principle, if you want to build a democracy at European level that looks like democracy in each of the member states, that principle must prevail.
OK, but what kind of issues will the next leader of the European Commission have to face? How is he going to actually engage with Europeans? Or she? Well,
Manfred Weber has said, and very much during this campaign, that he does believe a lot more needs to be done directly by the European institutions to engage with the European citizens. Up until now, the assumption has been that democracy worked through the member states. But the reality has been that people don't understand how Europe works, how decisions are taken, and perhaps they don't feel very attached to the process. Perhaps they don't feel represented by that. He wants to go out and do this. Is he the right person? I don't know. He's quite young, he's intelligent, he appears to be sincere. He is a conservative. I don't share his political views. He's quite right-wing in many respects, but people get the opportunity during a European election campaign to listen to the man, perhaps to question him and make their own decision. And if they don't like him, they could instead decide to vote for the Socialists or the Liberals or the Greens or some other political party.